Hey guys, Scott Jedlinski, Modern Samurai Project. Want to talk to you a little bit about why I like red dots on pistols. First of all, Father Time's gonna catch up with everybody and your eyes aren't all that great. Everybody will eventually go to the red dot in time. But the other advantage is, even if you have great eyesight, is the advantages of one focal plane shooting versus three focal plane shooting. A three focal plane shooting with iron sights, you've got your target, your front sight, and your rear sight. We have been doing things for eons of history at one focal plane, and all of a sudden we put these bumpy things on a gun really for not that long, and it's awesome, right? But then we go to what we've been doing the whole time and shooting with one focal plane to the target, to the problem, to the threat, and now it feels weird. The advantages of one focal plane shooting is, again, being threat focused, being target focused. For civilians, it is a better way to positively ID in case of self-defense. So for law enforcement, it will reduce mistake of fact shooting. Because they are threat focused, they can see whether or not it's actually a cell phone or a wallet or actually a firearm or another weapon in which they need to make that critical decision to shoot or not shoot. For the rest of it, right, some people think that red dots are slower up close than other things. Well, here's what I always tell people, right? So when you're shooting an iron sight gun at 3 yards to, say, an 8-inch circle, what are you seeing? Everyone says a flash sight picture, right? I go, really? Are you really just putting the gun in the middle of brown and pulling the trigger? And they're like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. But then we get our red dot, we mill it, we get our fancy cool Cerakote, and I put our red dot on it. And unless that dot is in the center of the center of the center, smiling back at us and telling us we're a good person, we don't pull that trigger. So what I teach in my classes are things like a gross sight picture, using the back of the slide, using the glass called a gross ring, using something called a guillotine, splitting the target, because the cone of deviation is so small at that point, you can get away with a lot of gross sight picture at that point. And I can't really think of an instance, except for maybe dot torture, where you need to get your gun out because you've decided to shoot at 3 yards and you don't need to do it right now. Then you start to migrate into other things, right? People not finding the dot and things of that nature. Most of it has nothing to do with the dot, it has to do with your janky draw. The one advantage, in my opinion, that irons have over a red dot is that they're always in your peripheral, right? But that's why a lot of people's draw looks like this. The dot doesn't let you get away with that because it's enshrouded in a hood, right? But once you get the dot, once you remove the useless frenetic motion, the squats, the leans, the pushes, the punch out, you will get it and you'll find the dot. Guess what? When you go back to irons, your draw will be more efficient and you'll find your irons better. The rest of it is finding it in recoil. Again, the way you stand, using structure versus strength, not locking out your arms, using your passive structure to control that gun and watching and see what happens. The rest of it is shooting red dots at distance. Not gonna go into that. That's Captain Obvious being obvious, right? That's why everyone gets into the red dots to begin with. Again, the advantages of it, that I don't think there's any disadvantages for irons versus a red dot, except for maybe cost and things of that nature. But if you really get into it, and you really give its time and its due, I think the advantages of the red dot will become clear, and I invite you to come on that journey with me.